Pledge allegiance. Agenda item number 2, public input. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak this evening? Please state your name.
Jill Congdon, 298 High Street, and speaking on behalf of the Southbridge Elementary PTA. I just wanted to inform everyone that the PTA will be holding a Halloween costume party this Friday, October 26th from 6 to 7:30 at the old Southbridge High School gym on Cole Ave. Please join the PTA for some dancing, ghoulish games, freaky fun, and frightening food. Free admission for PTA members and their families. The cost is $10 admission per family at the door if they're not a member, or people can sign up that night to be a PTA member for $8. There'll be 3 lines that night, one for members, one for people that want to get in and don't want to become members, and one for people that want to join the PTA to make things run quicker, if everyone can be aware of that. This event is for children pre-K to grade 5 and their families. No violent costumes, please, and all children must be accompanied by an adult. If anyone has any questions, they can call the PTA hotline at 508-344-8431 or email us at southbridgepta@gmail.com. All Halloween party attendees also will get $1 admission to the Southbridge High School football game that evening at McMahon Field. Anybody can donate treats and nut-free baked goods to the party, and the food can be dropped off at the high school gym on Cole Ave anytime after 3:30 on Friday. So we're hoping for a lot of people to come and have some fun. Mr. Lab, the principal at West Street School, will be DJing the event. We'll have a variety of arts and craft tables, prizes, which will consist of scholastic books for best costume, coloring, a pool full of candy where kids will have 5 seconds to grab as much candy as they can, and a lot of other fun things to do. I'd also like to say that this week we're going to start passing out catalogs for our Schwann's Truck fundraiser. The fundraiser has been postponed a little because Schwann's has had an issue on the printing of their catalogs. So we were supposed to start delivery this Monday, but delivery to the students should be either Thursday or Friday. Schwann's apologizes for this inconvenience, but we're still hoping to get the catalogs out to the kids. There's 3 ways that people can order. One is online at www.schwannsfundraising.com, and they can place the order online. The campaign ID is 40077, and that will link it all up to the Southbridge Elementary PTA. The second way people can order is by phone, 1-888-SCHWANS, SCHWANS, and the last is gift card orders, and people can purchase them for friends or family. And the other way people can order is through a order form where the children can take home with them and bring back to the school by Tuesday, November 6th. All orders will be picked up on Saturday, November 10th in the old high school parking lot by the gym between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So once somebody places an order, they go pick it up at the truck. If you didn't place an order and you still want to get food, you can pick it up at the truck between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday, November 10th. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Donovan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thanks for coming. I'm excited for the PTA Halloween party. That's always a big deal. I know the kids are very, very excited, so congratulations to you and the rest of your board members for putting this together. It's not an easy task, but it's going to be a great evening, so I wish you the best. And the second question I had, that Saturday, November 10th, that kind of rang a bell. Is that the same day as the turkey trot?
It is. The turkey trot is, I believe, is it 9 a.m.? I'm not sure on the time on that, but we tried to kind of coincide, so maybe we get people that are picking up their Schwann's orders to join the turkey trot, and the people at the turkey trot might come to the truck and buy a pie after they walk around the track. No.
So the people at the turkey trot, if they did want to come over and buy a pie, they don't have to pre-order or use a catalog? There'll be food available there for just to come over and buy directly from the truck?
True, yes.
Okay.
And at the Halloween party, Schwann's will have a table set up at the Halloween party where people can do orders that night. Also, there's a lot of different ways people can pay. Cash, and that you pay when you pick up the order. Cash, check, charge, or EBT.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to come and speak this evening? Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, meeting called to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Max?
Dr. D'Amico? Present. Mrs. Donovan?
Present.
Mr. Lazo?
Present.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Present.
Dr. O'Leary?
Present.
Mrs. Principe?
Present.
Mrs. Woodruff?
Present.
7 present.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, approval of minutes of the regular school committee meeting October 9th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A motion by Mrs. Donovan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. McLaughlin. Are there any errors, corrections, or changes to the minutes? Mrs. Principe?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't catch this earlier. And on page 2, no, actually page 1, item number 8, collective bargaining. D, Mrs. Principe said she met with the president of the Southbridge Education Association. It was a phone call. I did not meet with him. I appreciate it, Max.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll have everybody in favor, all in favor? Okay, any abstentions? Seeing none? Did you get that, Max? Okay, we have one abstention, Scott, please. Mr. Lazo. Moving on, agenda item number 6, Chairwoman's announcements. I just have one this evening. It's just regarding a request from the last meeting to look over the subcommittees and add a member. I have looked that over. I have made changes and arrangements. We do have to vote those in, so we'll do that at the next meeting. Also regarding policy subcommittee meetings, if everyone can exchange phone numbers or emails so that they can be reached in case they cannot make a meeting, so that you can let the chairperson of each subcommittee know. That way, if they cannot run the meeting, they can cancel it ahead of time, or what have you. So if everyone tonight could exchange phone numbers or emails or however we can keep in contact with each other on that, that would be super. Thank you. Agenda item number 7, reports. Representative of the Student Advisory Committee, Ms. Faith Macharia.
Hello, everyone. Last week, 4 seniors attended the WPI math meet, and a student, Yolanda Silavongse, earned a $1,000 scholarship that she can use if she chooses to attend that school. Yesterday, the girls' varsity soccer team won 1-0 against Bartlett, which was really great after almost 5 years. Last Wednesday, both the girls and boys varsity cross-country teams won against Quabog. Upcoming events, this Friday will be the homecoming activities. They were postponed from last Friday since the weather was really terrible. And November 8th, this is a reminder to everyone, will be the Evening of the Arts, and you're all welcome. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, school committee reports. A, curriculum subcommittee. Mrs. Donovan?
Yes, thank you very much. A meeting of the curriculum subcommittee was scheduled for Monday, October 15th, 2012 at 7 p.m. in room 114 at the old Southbridge High School. In attendance was Curriculum Subcommittee Chairwoman Kara Donovan. Absent was Subcommittee Member Dr. O'Leary. In addition to attending the meeting was School Committee Member Mrs. McLaughlin. Also in attendance was our director, our curriculum assessment team. We had our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Mrs. Amy Allen. We also had the Director of our English Language Learners, Dr. Sarah Jordan. We had our Director of Mathematics, K through 12, Mr. Roland Gabery, as well as our Director of English Language Arts, K through 12, Ms. Karen Ryan. In addition to they, we also had citizens, Mr. Wally McKenzie, Mr. Brent Abrahamson, Gus Steves, and Ms. Maureen Doyle. At 7:05, I declare that no quorum could be obtained since Dr. O'Leary did not show for the meeting. Therefore, a meeting could not be held and no action could be taken. However, where there were so many people in attendance, we decided to have a very healthy informational discussion amongst various items of ways that we could talk about looking to improve or increase communication with parents and students. Mrs. Allen was one of the first to say that she has been working in conjunction with our school technician to try to come up with some type of infomercial that can be put on local access as well as the district website. And what she'd be looking to do is actually videotaping faculty meetings where data is being analyzed, perhaps going into classrooms where the core curriculum is being taught, and pretty much any aspect that is incorporated in our accelerated improvement plan. We want to try to target those areas and videotape them and then get them out to the public so the public can actually see with their own eyes the hard work that our district curriculum team is doing to try to conquer two initiatives. One, let the public know and let parents make them aware of what's happening, and also to fulfill our obligations relative to our AIP. We also talked about MCAS scores and ways that we can try to get kids more to buy into the MCAS test prior to 10th grade. When 10th grade is their last hurrah and they have to pass the MCAS to graduate. So we're looking for ways to get them interested much earlier than the 10th grade. Mrs. Ryan did a very nice discussion about our DIBEL scores, which talks about the ways that our children are reading and at the speed of fluency that they have, that perhaps once parents are aware of those scores, they can work with their own children at home to get those scores increased and practice fluency. Mr. Abrahamson was very kind enough to give us a proclamation and to let us all know that November is in fact Literacy Month as designated by Governor Patrick. So in light of that, we had a nice discussion about literacy in general and ways that we can encourage literacy both in the classrooms and in the homes. Dr. Jordan was there again. She's our Director of English Language Learners. She made us aware that October is National Hispanic Month, and there were some wonderful activities that took place in our schools. There were luncheons, there was music, there was decorations to try to unite the school communities as a whole, and that was very successful and a very positive thing, so we were very happy to hear that. Mrs. McLaughlin, who was also in attendance, she is our, as you know, the director or the chairperson of our Communication and Family Engagement Committee, and she had brought up an idea that, again, we discussed that would be a nice idea to probably promote some type of family engagement calendar for parents, that moving forward parents will know what's coming down the pike, what special events are happening in their schools or in other schools, so again they can get involved and make the necessary arrangements ahead of time so that they can be present at important functions that involve their children. And then finally, Mr. McKenzie was there. Mr. McKenzie is the gentleman that wanted to make a statement to us that his proposition or his statement was that whenever the origin of species is being brought up in the classroom, he wishes that all theories on evolution be presented at that time, and that was his point to make his statement. So at 8:04, I thanked everybody for taking the time from their busy schedules for a very healthy discussion, and the discussion ended at 8:04 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Donovan. Next, Policy Subcommittee. We did not have a meeting last week, so there are no reports, but a reminder, tonight is the second reading of our updated policies we did at the previous meeting. Thank you. For budget, facilities, and transportation, Dr. D'Amico?
Nothing to report, nothing scheduled at this time.
Thank you. Collective bargaining subcommittee, Mrs. Principe?
Thank you. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. It will take place at the Old High School on Cole Ave, room M114, and we will be opening negotiations with the Education Association. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication, family, and community engagement, Mrs. McLaughlin?
Meeting was held October 17th, 6:30 in room M114 at the former high school building. And the items that we addressed, we talked about in the accelerated improvement plan, there's a need to create a parent survey of the district, kind of a baseline towards the beginning of the year, and then to survey at the end of the year. Mr. Ely said that this is moving forward, that there's a meeting with a group to create such a survey and to determine if that group will meet the district needs or if that company would meet the district's needs. So that is in progress. Regarding the district calendar, there have been many improvements to the district calendar on the website. November 1st is a target date for using new school software to create a calendar for the entire district that we hope will bring many improvements. There was discussion at a previous meeting that a district communication chart be developed, a kind of who's who to contact with a situation at the beginning of the school year. People may have had questions about busing or school lunches, and I'm happy to say that that has been developed. It is on the district website on the home page under who to contact. There's a little box, and it's very useful. So I encourage people to take a look at that. The celebration planning for the new school that will take place now in June is underway. Anybody who wants to be a part of that can contact me. I'm just overseeing that for the time being. And finally, there was discussion centered around National Parent Involvement Day, which occurs during American Education Week on November 15th, and some initiatives this district is looking to develop for that day. It also aligns with the AIP. Next meeting date has not been scheduled. I'm going to confer with Ms. Allen before scheduling that meeting, and that's it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9, presentations, financial result of summer feeding program and new federal guidelines relative to food service. Ms. Susan Pinkham, Food Service Director.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I will give you a brief report on the summer. This past summer, we started the week right after school. We went for 9 weeks, so that was an increase as compared to last year. I believe typically we've done 6 weeks before. This year we did 9 weeks. So as a result of that, our total volume was up. We did almost 14,000 meals, 13,902, as compared with last year, which was 9892, so 40% more. Each year, however, in the last several years, it has increased significantly. So ours was this, a similar increase as to other years. That's great. So in just a statistic, in 2009, there was about 5,000 meals. Now we're up to about 14,000 meals. So that's a great increase. However, we were not able to break even, and I'll give you several reasons for that. We were in the red about $4,000 or so, comparable to what has been lost in the previous years. So there's a number of factors that affect that, many factors. The advertising costs for the advertising and for the magician were not able to be picked up by the grant this year, as opposed to previous years when it had been paid for by a grant. We had a brand new food service vendor this year. So, and the other thing that I learned this year was that the bid prices that we have for the majority of the school year do not actually apply during the summer. So that's something I've spoken with Terry about, and hopefully next year when the collaborative gets together, that's something that they could put into place and look for a more full year for better food pricing. So the summer programs are somewhat negatively impacted by a lack of bid pricing, let's say. There's ways that we could tweak labor a bit. When we were visited by the state for a typical review, she gave one particular suggestion, and I would recommend that for next year, in that we don't have people waiting to hand out meals, that we utilize the labor in making and then sending them out. So that's something that should be put into place. Oh, and another thing that was very necessary this year, but it did impact the labor. We really needed to have 2 drivers. Previously, there were 1 driver most of the times, and it was really too difficult with the heavy, heavy coolers, so we did put a 2-driver system in. We did, when we could, when the census was down, let's say, we would send people home as opposed to keeping them on. So we tried to minimize the labor when possible. But it's also, and the last thing is that there still has been no intern available to Southbridge in the last several years. We made an attempt again. The intern would help defray some of the administrative costs, because the intern could actually do some of the programming or the ordering, anything that the intern was capable of doing. So instead of me doing the function, the intern could perhaps do that, and that would help keep the costs down. We did have a possible candidate, but it didn't work out. She opted to go somewhere else. So that's something that should be continued to be pursued and looked at. So overall, however, the census was up, and that's the good thing. We did, the grant funds that we did have were used for coolers and ice packs and some food safety items. So that's really what happened with the summer food service. I was also asked to, go ahead.
We're just going to see if anybody has any questions at this time.
Sure.
On this related subject. Is there anyone here who has any questions? Mrs. Principe?
Thank you. Through you to Mrs. Pinkham. The advertising, where do we advertise that?
Hometown shopper. It's not very much, but it's just, contributed a little bit.
So we advertise that we have a summer?
The sites, the times, the days, yes. And we had done that in previous years.
In the hometown shopper?
Yes. Actually, we cut back on what we had the previous year. Previous year, I think there was a 2-page ad. This year, we went with a 1-page ad.
Okay. That's it for now.
In addition to free flyers that Shirley and I posted in many locations.
Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. Thank you, Ms. Pinkham. Nice to meet you. I haven't had a chance to meet you. Yes, nice to meet you. My first question is line number 1 mentions reimbursements for the 3 months. And I don't know maybe if it's you or if it's Terry. Who does the reimbursing, and what is the reimbursement based on?
I don't know that I have those figures
There
with
was
me.
the attachment.
She may not, that actually may have come from.
Oh, I probably did that. Okay.
You did.
Oh, that
was to her.
Oh, sure, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Who does the reimbursements? Me. Okay, so I take the figures and I put that into the security portal. There's certain forms online that you fill out, and that's how it's done the rest of the year. And then the state and the federal government send it back to us. So I process the numbers. They send us a green document that says Southbridge is getting so many dollars for a period of time. That's a normal process.
Okay. That's fine, thank you. And then my second question was on the same spreadsheet that is supplied. Under monitoring for the month of August, there was nothing listed there for a number, and I didn't know, do you not do monitoring in the month of August?
The monitoring that you see in the previous month was a particular employee who did, there has to be a pre-monitoring, a first week monitoring, and then a further down the road monitoring. So the labor you're seeing there is, and we don't necessarily have to do that in August. So our monitoring was done in June and then July, so that's why you don't see that.
Okay.
And in addition, not all of the programs run at the same time. So as we went into August, some of the programs had already dropped off. Not all of them started in June as well.
Right, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Briefly, you're talking about an intern that's needed for the program. Where typically would an intern come from? I'm wondering if like Quincy was contacted, Quinsigamon Community College, or
Actually, Project Bread helps to coordinate interns, and Ashley and I did speak, and we interviewed someone over the phone. She interviewed us, I suppose, but she did select another place.
Okay.
So Project Bread is where the interns would come from, and they contact the Massachusetts colleges and universities.
Thank you.
Dr. O'Leary?
And welcome. Nice
Hi.
to see you. If you've already mentioned it, forgive me. Under general operations, can you help me with such the disparity from month to month for the cost of that? For instance, in June, 3727, and then in July, 11,000. This sort of what? Yikes!
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah. Again, we started in June, so June is 1 week worth of costs.
Gotcha.
And then July is the whole month, and then August is
Partial.
3.5, 4 weeks.
So the general representation would be around $11,000 a month then per month, per full month.
That's the full.
Yeah.
That would be the full.
Okay. And I have, one more, I appreciate that, thank you. One more question. I know you're just getting used to your first year in this program here at Southbridge anyway. One of the problems I have, I think it's a wonderful program. Of course, we love it to not really cost us. You don't really have to make money, but I like it to try to break even. Have you been able to glean any ideas or potential areas that we could cut down on that negative cost, get it closer to break even?
Sure. Well, again, the state reviewer who was there said that what she would recommend in terms of staffing, we had a site or two that the person would go and they would take care of the breakfast meal, and then there perhaps was this gap of time, and that gap is what we need to eliminate. And how you eliminate that is, instead of having the person sit for a bit, they would come back to the main operation and help prepare sandwiches. So that would be, again, one way. I think number two, to restate, would be to look at the food costs, and to be able to buy the food costs at a better, in a better situation. And again, with us having to change the food vendor, I don't think that helped the situation either. They were new to us, we were new to them. What did we need? So we did the best we could in a very short amount of time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Oh, Terry, go ahead.
If I could just add on that last part, I don't think Sue or I were aware that when the FREC does its bid, it did not do a bid that was inclusive of summer feeding. We're now aware of that.
Yeah.
So when we go out and provide our specifications for the school lunch bid for next year, we will specifically indicate to them that the bid needs to be inclusive of the summer and any food purchases we make over the summer, and that should lower our food costs.
And the other thing,
for all vendors.
You could buy some of the food ahead. I mean, you certainly can't buy it all. And this year was not probably the ideal time to buy anything in advance. There's also minimum quantities. So when you're looking at, we tried, the other thing I think I didn't say is we actually tried to put more fresh vegetables in, cherry tomatoes and cucumbers and carrots and things like that. So, we may have spent a little bit more on that, but being a nutritionist, I really wanted to try. And, in the end, we still lost money, but the kids had some vegetables.
Mrs. Prince-Pay?
Just one more question through you to Mrs. Pinkham. You mentioned the intern would defray some of the cost, and you said you happened to interview one individual. Is there a pool of individuals? Is it something that we could contact Project Bread earlier to arrange to have more than one interviewee, so we can get an intern in there to defray the cost? How do we know about these interns, and when does it happen?
I probably spoke with Project Bread maybe April-ish, but they were talking to me in February about this, so it's not for lack of trying. What happens is the person who's the intern has to want to come here. So I guess the answer to the question is, what about Southbridge would attract someone? That's what I would think. So there was one person who was considering. I don't know in the past if there had been other interns.
I don't believe so.
Or I mean, if there had been other intern interests. I know there wasn't interns, but I don't know if there was anybody ever before. And often, you know, students are looking for paid internships and things like that. Well, we certainly weren't offering that, and Project Bread doesn't offer that either. But mostly it's just really for the experience. You know, you could potentially advertise for an unpaid internship or experience. You could look at the local colleges here, or certainly the colleges that are in the area that have nutrition students or food service or community type of, you know, education. That's where I would look.
Thank you.
You're
welcome. It's a good idea.
Any other questions before we move on? Mrs. Donovan?
I already have spoken once on this issue, and I through you to Ms. Pinkham, and if she doesn't know, perhaps to Mr. Wiggin. I'm just wondering, do we have like a maximum loss number that once we hit that number, we have to determine whether or not we would still keep the program? I think it's a wonderful program, and obviously the need is there, and I'm not trying to take this program away, but I just don't know, do we have a breaking point where we have to reevaluate if we reach a certain negative loss?
We actually reevaluate this every year. We bring it to the school committee for approval to run a summer program, and it's a discussion that will happen in the spring.
Okay.
And that's a discussion that the school committee will have to make, a decision they'll have to make based on our history. Our history has been that we've been losing money doing the summer feeding program. The losses have been decreasing, but we're still losing money. And that was a discussion and it'll happen again in the spring.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right, Mrs. Pink, we can move on to the next item, which is the federal guidelines.
Sure. I'll just briefly speak about that. It is really very complicated, so I'll really try to boil it down. What's different this year is that the most important things you're probably already aware of is that we have ranges. We have ranges for protein requirements. We have ranges for grains. So previously, we could give a little bit more and not worry so much. This year, we have to fall within a certain range for calories, for protein, for grains. And you have I know you have the paperwork on that. And that is also something that if we wish to, we can post it on the website. As you can see, that first document is quite complicated. So I walk around with it because we're still absorbing it. There's a lot here. So it's the ranges that is really the takeaway. It's about 2 breads. It's about 2 ounces of protein. This is for lunch, okay? But actually for the elementary, it's a little less. For the older students, it's a little bit more. So that's what the difference is. Also, for our offer versus serve in the New Middle High School, students must take a fruit or a vegetable. They have to take one or the other in order for it to be a reimbursable meal. They don't have to take a milk, they don't have to take a protein, but they do have to take a fruit or a vegetable. So that's another big thing. The other thing is with regards to the vegetables, we now have colors. So now I have to write the menu such that we have one of these colors every single day. We can have more, but we have to have a minimum, and they're not actually the same amount every day. So when I'm making my menus, I keep going back, and I keep looking at these things, hoping to find something new in here that the students will like. So we've been trying a number of different things, and we will keep on trying until we find the right things that everyone will like. And remember that if someone says, well, my child doesn't eat beans right now, the idea of having these healthy guidelines in place is that over time, the repeated exposure, if they're not trying it today, maybe they'll try it the 10th time they see it on their tray. That's the goal. That's really the broad overview about the changes, the colors, the ranges, and they have to take the fruit or the vegetable. There's a document that we will put on the website with a bunch of questions and answers if you're looking for much greater detail.
Does anyone have any questions at this time? Mrs. Donovan?
I had a lot, but I'll try to keep them simple. And forgive me just because I'm the new kid on the block. I'm going to start maybe with elementary breakfast. If you are required to give, say, a milk and a juice or a milk and a fruit, and then 2 grains, and if my child really hates orange juice and really doesn't like graham crackers, he or she is required to take all 4 items to meet the requirement to make it a reimbursable meal. But they don't like orange juice and they don't like graham crackers, so therefore, once it's on the tray and they decide we don't like it, they have to throw it away. Is that what's happening? And I'm concerned about waste and how I completely understand that this is a national regulation, and it doesn't leave a whole lot of wiggle room. But it's awful to see or hear of food that's not being, I can see with the beverages, the milk and the juices might be a temperature sensitive issue and you don't want milk to spoil and things like that. But I'm just wondering if there's packages of food, i.e. graham crackers or something else that's in a sealed package, is there any way to salvage that rather than just throwing it away because some child doesn't want to eat that? I think we're teaching our children a terrible lesson about wasting. Well, I don't like that. Don't give it to me. Well, too bad. You have to take it. Okay. And then they walk through the line and they throw it in the trash. And that's very, very concerning to me. It has nothing to do with you. I guess it's just a general comment to anybody that's up here or the people in general, if we could maybe work on not having waste relative to this issue.
I think we can probably work towards more variety in the breakfast program. That is a weaker spot. And actually there are no changes to the breakfast program this year. So that's the other thing. So certainly our focus has not been on breakfast. I did do some things last year with breakfast. I tried to introduce some products. They weren't overly successful. They were some whole grain products, which I'd like to bring back. I didn't think they were bad, but I was told, no, they didn't really appreciate them. So we keep digging. The other thing that I don't think has ever been talked about here is that we actually could do offer versus serve in the elementary schools. That's kind of a new can of worms, but good worms. That could be done. I would not recommend it with the very young groups, but I think on a maybe perhaps you would try it with the 5th graders, and if it was successful, work on the 4th graders, and so on and so forth, to the point where, but that is a possibility, but that would have to be a district initiative. It does take longer if the students are have to decide what they would like. So I think there is opportunity. It has to be done in collaboration.
Okay. And then my second question was, and again, I don't even know if you're the right person to ask this question. In addition to this regulation relative to what, the changes in the ranges of food and what can be given out, we also have been faced with a huge change of what you can actually bring into schools as far as cupcakes on your child's birthday or snacks or Skittles or different things like that. And you hear about it, but we don't see it. And I apologize if I'm asking you. It's a food-related issue, so I will start with you. But I don't know if it needs to even perhaps go through our policy subcommittee, if there's a district policy on wellness and health, and if there are changes. I just think there's a huge misconception out there that some of these regulations apply only to breakfast and lunch programs. However, bringing cupcakes in or giving a Skittle for a reward in the classroom is different. And I just didn't know how we could attack that issue as well as a school committee and as a policy-making board to see whether or not those policies are in fact true. Do we need to adjust our own policies? I just know there's just a lot of misunderstanding and a huge misconception out there, and I don't know who to direct this question at, but so if anybody could help me with that, I'd appreciate it.
You know, I certainly would recommend that it be done through your policies committees, especially the Wellness Committee. I do have documentation in my office, the Massachusetts standards for such things. And certainly from my perspective in my department, we are not allowed to put for sale certain things. In a nutshell.
Right.
So yes, your questions, I think, would be very appropriately answered by the work of the committees, in particular the Wellness Committee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. O'Leary?
Thank you. Ms. Pinkham, just a quick question. I'm looking at the page 1 of the final rule nutrition standards and other specifications, daily amounts based on average of a 5-day week, minimums dash maximum calories, grades 9 through 12, 750 to 850 calories. Is that for breakfast and lunch?
Just lunch.
Just lunch. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mary Ellen.
You're talking about this document, correct?
Yeah, no, Mary Ellen just helped me out with it. That was, apparently the 750 to 850 is for the meal of lunch for the 9 to 12 graders.
Right,
And then
right,
the
that is broken down.
4 to 5 would be for breakfast, and whatever's made up for the average 18 to 2,000 calorie diet is your dinner at home. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, it actually doesn't say, but I'm looking down below. That's for the week.
No,
Daily amount, daily
yeah,
amount,
but it's
sorry.
based on one, my question's been answered. It's based on one meal, not the whole day, and I'm thinking 850 calories for a day. No wonder why kids are hungry.
No,
I got it.
no, it's for a meal.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Scott? Or Mr. Lazo, sorry, did you have a question?
No, I was just, we were sharing this, I'm sharing the same frustration as previous speaker as far as the waste portion. I don't think it's Ms. Pinkham's fault, but last tail end of last year when the discussion came up, we had a student rep sit in that chair and tell us that if you didn't eat the apples, you had to take them. They would take the apples, and they would use them as bowling balls in the cafeteria. So when the student actually gave us kind of an oversight of the same type of discussion. And it's a frustrating field when you have the federal guidelines come down. It's not just in Southbridge. I've talked to people from Shepherd Hill and other districts that the kids they're hungry, and they're going to practice, they're hungry. It's if it was chicken nuggets, if it was 6, we went to 3. It's a frustrating, I tend to listen more than talk lately on food and say, okay, we're going to put more variety. Good idea, gives better choices. But what happens when you go to a variety, if one thing we've learned in some of the things that we do in our life, the bigger the variety, the more the waste. So for myself, I lean towards some sort of survey to the families saying, geez, what's the popular numbers that can stay within these guidelines? You know, I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. I'm just suggesting that, but I think we're all in the same boat with the frustration with the guidelines. It's just a matter of how do you not waste food, don't lose money, and continue some sort of quality product as far as the wellness. And that's a balancing act. And I think we're all sharing that frustration, but, you know, if we could get a better handle on what the foods are when it comes to the morning. I mean, if it's juice, milk, whatever it is, we could probably survey the parents. I don't know if that's another expense on top of everything else we do, but I don't have the answer. It's just a suggestion, you know, for the food.
Mrs. McLaughlin, did you have a question?
Thank you. I do. May I ask a question? Well, first a comment. Yesterday, Mrs. Donovan and I had the occasion to have lunch at the new school. And did so just because, you know, you hear things, you want to just go check it out. I will tell you, I was very impressed. It exceeded my expectations on many levels. I had heard, and I just want to help dispel maybe some rumors, and this was again what I saw in 2.5 lunch periods. I had heard concerns that children there weren't enough chairs in the cafeteria, and that kids were forced to stand up and eat lunch. I did in fact witness kids standing up to eat lunch, but it was their choice. They were standing up at the high bar to eat their lunch with their friends who were sitting. There were plenty of chairs available in the cafeteria for that purpose. I had heard that the food is, not in abundance and that they run out of food quite a bit. That was not the case when I was there. Mr. Billis spent some time speaking to us and said that sure, they there are 4 choices now at the school. I guess there had been 6, there are now 4. So they don't make 200 pieces of pizza every day, 200 salads every day, 200 pork cutlets, which is what they were serving, or 200 ham and cheese sandwiches that they have to kind of do a best guesstimate. And so I actually selected the garden salad with the chicken salad and apple and milk, and got the bonus of some potato salad that was left over from professional development day. And my meal was very good and very satisfying. And nobody knew we were coming. We just kind of did it as an impromptu thing. So I appreciate that. The kids seem to be, I didn't hear students complaining. I think there is a learning curve on it. The only thing I did get feedback on was protein. I think people want to see a little bit more protein, and I think that's a guideline that needs to be taken up at the state or federal level. I mean, it was okay for me when I had the salad with the chicken salad portion on top, that was fine, but apparently if you get a 2-ounce chicken cutlet, it's like the equivalent of your 2 chicken nuggets or something. So that was the only feedback that I got, and I know that's out of the district's control at this point. So I wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Ely, do we in fact have a wellness committee established? And if so, who is on that committee?
We do not yet. We have actually, today I met with the insurance company, with the town manager, and their wellness advisor for Maya, actually for the Blue Cross Blue Shield, has volunteered to help us with our committee. Our new PPS director will head up that committee along with our curriculum director, because we're doing some curriculum work around wellness as well. And I have met with the vice president of the hospital, and he's volunteered either himself or at least 2 members of the staff at the Harrington Hospital to be part of the wellness committee. We will invite our nurses and some of our people in the school district that work with students and be putting a wellness committee together in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, but I need to make a comment. I just have to jump back about breakfast and waste. In the year that I've been here, the one thing that I have observed on the elementary level is, and I want to try to say this in the right way, sometimes the students are more interested in chatting and enjoying their time not in class. And if there was a way to encourage students to continue to do that, but to actually eat and focus on what's in front of them, that I think might help reduce some of the waste, because there's just an awful lot of fun happening at mealtime at the elementary level. So I just needed to get that out.
I've had the opportunity to watch the elementary lunches, and I'm always interested in the creativity of some of the students. Because I went one day, I think they were having peas, and I saw a lot of peas on a lot of trays and that weren't getting touched, and I saw one little boy putting ketchup in his peas to make them taste better. So I think there are kids out there that are experimenting with some interesting kind of combinations of food. So I think the food program is one of those things that we've struggled with, and we're not the only ones, I know. But I do appreciate your staff, and I will say every place I've been in the district observing lunch, the staff is very professional. The staff is helping kids. The teachers are right out there in the lunchroom with the kids, and it's a growing process right now. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure they appreciate hearing that.
Dr. O'Leary, and then.
Thank you, Ms. Pinkham, but more to the members here too, to follow up on Mr. Lazo's comment about potentially a survey of some sort for the kids as to or families, what choices might be more amenable to help reduce some of that too. After all, we have our own unique demographics here as to other places, so that might be of I would say that's something to consider, and if that were the case to the rest of the school folks, under what purview, under what venue might that happen? Would it be under maybe Lawrence?
Actually, it falls under the group that I'm meeting with, K-12 Insight, which is a company that does surveys. That's exclusively what they do. And I have not talked to them about that issue, but I will, because I think that food service is an issue now kind of all over the country, and I will, when I talk to him again, I'll talk to him about that specific subject, and we'll do it under the communications and community and family engagement. I can't ever remember that actually, that committee's name, but we'll do it under that subcommittee. But this is also part of our AIP, to get surveys out there of a lot of different parent groups on a lot of different subjects, and do some beginning and end surveys to see if we've improved.
And just to finish up comment on that, it seemed to me that that would be a perfect opportunity, sort of like a tailor-made opportunity for this committee to reach out and have community involvement for an issue that the kids go home and talk about. It's a new school. Parents are, interested in seeing what's going on. It just seems like an opportunity that's ripe to get that community involvement that we've been looking for all this time.
Mr. Wiggins?
Yeah, I also made a note about the survey, and again, having done it through a couple of different venues. To come back briefly to the waste issue, and then I had one other point I wanted to make before we let Sue go. One of the other issues that Sue and I have been trying to clarify, use the analogy of eating in a restaurant. When I eat in a restaurant and I get clam chowder, I make a point of telling the waiter or waitress not to give me the oyster crackers because I don't use them. And I know that if they put the oyster crackers on my tray and give them to me, that they will then be wasted because they can't give them to anybody else. And our understanding is the health laws are such that if we give that graham cracker in the little packet to the children, it's just like the restaurant. And so that's one of the issues we're trying to clarify, and we don't need to go into all the details there, but so that's, when Sue talks about the, changing the offer versus serve, that's part of, the issue of how you can address some of that, but it's kind of controversial dealing with it at the elementary level. And in breakfast in particular, breakfast is going to change next year. So we're not quite sure what the new standards for breakfast are going to be. That's going to probably impact how we deliver the product to the children, at least at the breakfast time. Before Sue gets down, and I don't get the opportunity to say so, Sue is going to be leaving us. And I'm sad to see her go. Members of this committee know that our previous food service director that we had for a couple of years left us suddenly. We then had a food service director that was with us literally for 4 days, and then I was very blessed to find Sue. And she came to us from a hospital setting. She's done a wonderful job over the past 13, 14 months, I guess. She is going to a district closer to home, and we certainly wish her well. I am going to miss her. She's done a fabulous job under arguably a pretty difficult year when you're putting a new school online and reconfiguring your elementary schools and all the things that are going on. So I just wanted to make it known that I really appreciate all the hard work that she's done, and I'm just trying to make sure she can get as much more hard work done before she leaves so that she sets me up in a good place for her successor.
I'm making your lists.
Yeah, making my list. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10, report of the superintendent.
Very briefly, just a couple things. This coming Friday, Dr. Nadine Bonda will be in district meeting with the administrative team to have our highlight meeting on the implementation of our AIP. That's just for your information. All the administrators will participate in that highlight meeting. This will be the first time that all of our administrators have participated. The second thing is I had told you that we had planned on tonight having a presentation on the MCAS data led by Ms. Allen. Ms. Allen was sort of drafted last week to do a NEASC accreditation visit in the Boston area the first 3 days of this week. So we postponed that to the next meeting in November, which will be, I believe, if I'm right, November 13th. If that's a change that you make, I think it's November 6th on the agenda, but that's Election Day. That also will be the night that Dr. Bonda and Ava Mitchell from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will be here to do the annual report, as they told you they would do sometime this fall. So they're going to be here the same night. That ends my report.
Thank you. Agenda item, Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you. Through you to the superintendent. Mr. Ely, I just didn't know if you could just maybe touch upon or clarify for the public. I know that there's been some coverage in the media about some altercations that happened at the high school. I didn't know if you could just briefly touch on them and assure everybody that everything has been taken care of and we're all set.
Everything's been taken care of and we're all set. We're following the student code of conduct, dealing with issues as they arise.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 11, report of the business manager. Thank you. Agenda item number 12, school committee actions. A, vote to approve an anonymous donation of $200 to Charlton Street School for the school support drive.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Principe. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you. Just a quick question. I'm unfamiliar with school support drive. That's the first I've heard of it. I didn't know exactly what that was.
Mr. Ely?
I can't answer the question. I don't know.
Okay.
I believe that this is affiliated with our relationship with SHOT,
Okay.
where the SHOT company has a school support
Right.
relationship with Charlton Street School. Unfortunately, this was meant to be an anonymous donation, so this is why we've changed this. And that's what it was driven around, I believe.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Max.
Mrs. Donovan?
Yes.
Mr. Lazo?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary?
Yes.
Mrs. Principe?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff?
Yes.
Dr. Domingo?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. B, vote to approve a donation of $100 to West Street School for playground toys by Mr. Brent Abrahamson. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second by Mrs. Donovan. Any discussion?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Abrahamson for his generosity. Thank you very much, Brent.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mrs. McLaughlin?
This is kind of serious, but kind of not. Mr. Abrahamson, is that the correct pronunciation of your name, Abrahamson? I think I've used Abramson in the past too, so apologies. Thank you for your donation.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lazo?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary?
Yes.
Mrs. Principe?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff?
Yes.
Dr. Domingo?
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. C, vote to approve a donation of a model VIP 1300 Vancouvering computer-assisted piano for use at the Southbridge Middle High School. Said donation with an estimated value of $1,000.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mrs. McLaughlin, second by Mr. Lazo. Any discussion?
Just like to thank the donor. And I know he went to Mr. O'Connor with this, so Mr. O'Connor's work and Mr. Wiggins' work on this. Thank you very much.
Faith?
As a course student, I would also like to thank the donor because I've seen the instrument and it's pretty impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary?
Yes.
Mrs. Principe?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff?
Yes.
Dr. Domingo?
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan?
Yes.
Mr. Lazo?
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion passes. And D, vote to approve middle high school activities and clubs for the 2012-2013 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a second. Any discussion? The revised list was in our packet.
I have a question.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yeah, through you to Mr. Wiggin. If at any point in time that students want to start a new club, for example, like school newspaper or something like that? Can they jump in after, or would we have to approve that as an individual?
Typically, we would let the club get started, and then we would just bring it to you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Dr. O'Leary,
Yes.
Mrs. Principe,
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff,
Yes?
Dr. Domingo,
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan,
Yes.
Mr. Lazo,
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion passes. Agenda item number 13, unfinished business. Our first unfinished business would be A, second reading of the updated policies. Again, those were just policies that the committee updated due to the state requirements. Everybody did receive a copy of the changes and the existing policies. I have not heard from anyone yet if there was any interest of changing or questions on that. I don't know if the public is aware that we have them posted and they can see them if they have any questions. Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yeah, Madam Chair, would it just be appropriate to quickly name what those policies are, just for the public's input?
Sure.
Or public information?
Yep, we'll have to make a motion and then,
Okay.
do we have a motion to waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion to waive the second reading. We have a second, so now we can do our discussion, and I will make the notation of all the policies. So the first one is executive session, file BEC. The second one is non-discrimination, file AC. The third one is non-discrimination on the basis of sex, file ACA. 4, equal employment opportunity, file GBA. 5, professional staff hiring, file GCF. 6, instructional materials, file IJ. 7, equal educational opportunities, file JB. 8, student-to-student harassment, file JBA. 9, school choice, file JFBB. 10, school choice, file JFBB1. 11, student health services and requirements, file JLC. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call.
Mrs. Principe,
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff,
Yes?
Dr. Domingo,
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan,
Yes.
Mr. Lazo,
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion passes. Is there any other unfinished business from any member? Mrs. Donovan?
Yes, thank you. I just have 2 quick items. My first question, I read around the beginning of the year, I think, was to Mr. Wigan and then to Ms. Peralt. I was concerned about the bus route for the late bus over at the middle school, high school, and I'm happy to report that we finally have that schedule. And just for parents to know, if your child does take either the 3:30 bus or the 5:30 bus, your child does not get dropped off at the normal spot that he or she would have if they were to take their regular bus home. So just for the general information, they do make a stop after leaving the school at McDonald's on East Main Street at Foster Street, the Hospital Spa at South Street, the front of West Street School, Pleasant Street at Main, Hamilton Street at Cross, and then the Extra Mart down on Worcester Street. And again, these are very nicely posted on the school website, and you can access that via the district website. So thank you for getting that information to me. I appreciate that. And then just another thing, I just wanted to thank whoever was involved for the new signs in front of West Street School and Charlton Street School. They're very bright and nice curb appeal, and just very, very nice to see. So thank you to whoever was responsible for making that happen. Thank you very much.
Anyone else for unfinished business? Seeing none. Agenda item number 14, new business. A, the next regular school committee meeting will be held on November 6, 2012, Council Chambers. November 6th is voting night, so I believe it would be appropriate if we moved it to the following Wednesday. So, Mr. Lazo?
Wednesday would be
The 13th.
13th.
Tuesday, I'm sorry, Tuesday.
I make a motion, we amend the new business to say the 14th. 13th. Excuse me, 13th.
Second.
There's a motion to amend the meeting to November 13th, which is a Tuesday, November 13th. Seconded. Any other discussion? Mrs.
Is
Principe?
that the only meeting we have in the month of November? Just one and then one in December?
Correct.
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Usually, because of Thanksgiving and... Okay, that's it, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, can we have a roll call on the motion to amend the date of the next school committee meeting?
Mrs. Woodruff,
Yes?
Dr. Domingo,
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan,
Yes.
Mr. Lazo,
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary,
Yes.
Mrs. Principe,
Yes?
7 yes.
Thank you. So the next meeting will be on November 13th at 7 o'clock here at the chamber.
You have to vote on that because you voted the amendment. Now you have to vote.
All right, we're going to vote the new date. I have a motion for the new date. Do I have to make a motion for another new date or just vote the new date? To vote, just vote the new date? Do we,
The main motion as amended should be
Right.
voted on.
okay, so we're going to vote on the main motion as amended to November 13th at 7 PM. Have a roll call?
Dr. Domingo,
Yes.
Mrs. Donovan,
Yes.
Mr. Lazo,
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary,
Yes.
Mrs. Principe,
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. So the meeting has been changed to November 13th at 7 PM. Is there any other new business? Mr. Lazo?
I just got a question on the new business. Have you received an exit letter from Sharon Golay? Have you received a letter?
I believe everybody has received a letter.
Everybody has received this?
I believe so.
Okay, it's a great concern. I just received it today. I happened to pick up my mail at the superintendent's office. I don't want to discuss it here tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that all the committee members, because I think maybe the committee members might want to discuss it, because there's some hard statements in this, and it kind of contradicts a newspaper article that I just read on the 22nd, so maybe for another date, we'll have a discussion. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else for new business? Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you. Just through you to Mr. Ely, I think I might have mentioned to you this very early on, but I didn't know if it was possible for maybe to provide a weekly update or some type of report to school committee members on a weekly basis. I know you give your report, every other week, but just on things, and you have been very good as things occur. You let us know. I just didn't know what you had done in the past, and if we could maybe start that again, just so that we're all on the same page.
In the past, I had done a Friday report. It had not been every Friday, but frequently on Fridays I had done that, and I discontinued that, but I certainly can reinstitute those. That's not a problem.
If the rest of the committee agrees, then that would be my proposal. Thank you very much.
I have no problem with that at all.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 15, vote to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for union and non-union personnel or litigation to the extent that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the governmental body pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part 3. Have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Mrs. Donovan,
Yes.
Mr. Lazo,
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary,
Yes.
Mrs. Principe,
Yes.
Mrs. Woodruff,
Yes.
Dr. Domingo,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. We'll return to open session for adjournment only.